Hello and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky, and I'm joined as always by the man who often uses spunk for milk. It's Greg. How are you today, buddy?
Yeah, it's lucky that the people who download the podcast know what we're going to be talking about before we talk about it. Otherwise, I could be rampant confusion.
I mean, I could have said a lot worse, Greg.
You just told me what you could have said before we started recording.
I did, yeah. I mean, that was a bad one. I thought about using one about your tried and tested nightclub technique of bumping into women and just shouting, "What's your name?" But I thought it's quite complicated and convoluted, so I'm just going to leave it.
As opposed to your tried and tested nightclub technique, which involves waiting until Can't Touch This by MC Hammer comes on and surreptitiously removing your penis from your fly and just letting it hang out until somebody notices.
I don't think that was successful very often in terms of
It depends how you measure success. If success is measured in it being hilarious every single time, then I would say you had like 100% strike rate.
Yeah.
However, if success was measured in attracting the attention of young ladies, then I think you had 100% fail rate on that front.
All right. Moving on. How are you today, buddy? Everything good?
Everything's good, yeah. As I was just saying before, we're in the midst of a peace fire. We're hoping that permanent peace is going to break out soon and we can get back to normal. But it's nice. It's nice having like a degree of normality over the last 10 days or so. No missile alerts, which is always a bonus. Which is something I never thought I would ever say that, you know. But yeah. Just keeping everything crossed for a return to the Dubai wanker lifestyle sooner than later.
Good. Fingers crossed for you, buddy. Fingers crossed. I want to ask you a quick question before we delve into everything. I mean, I could have asked you this off the pod, but it is Scottish related. Did you see the clip of Belle and Sebastian and their proposed World Cup song?
I did not see that. How did I miss that?
Well, it's not a thing. So I was lucky enough. I saw Belle and Sebastian last month in Amsterdam. They were incredible, as always. But they were playing the Royal Albert Hall last week as part of their tour, and they played this song. And they said it's not official. It should be, but it's not, and it's not finished. So this was kind of I don't know if it was their kind of audition piece, but it was filmed and it was put on their official Instagram. Now, I think it's April. We still don't have an official World Cup song. Belle and Sebastian, it would be a good shout. I don't know, but I just love, the lyrics are great, but it is very Belle and Sebastian-y, which I don't really see catching on the terraces, if you know what I mean. But it's got a lovely sentiment, and I really like the main kind of hook is, it only takes one lion to roar.
Right, yes.
I like that. And it mentions, it goes from Andrew W. to Andy R., which I'm like, that's beautiful. That's getting everything, included. And it talks about dancing and swearing and all the times we've been through. And, it just mentions like, I remember this squad and I don't think it's odd I can see their faces. It's a great song. So I'd love it if it was picked up, but who knows? I don't know. Do we have official songs anymore?
If Della Mitri can have I know you like it, but the dreary "Don't Come Home Too Soon" for the World Cup song, then I'm sure an upbeat Belle and Sebastian song has got a great chance of being picked. And the Della Mitri song wasn't exactly a favourite on the terraces either, was it, to be honest?
No.
It
definitely wasn't.
Although I know that you do like that song. And I do like the video for that song. I like watching the Scotland squad playing kind of headers and volleys in Prestwick.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We'll see if there is an update in terms of the World Cup song in the coming weeks. But yeah, it'd be amazing if they did. But yeah, I would seek it out after it all. Yeah.
Okay, I will.
Wonderful. Okay, well, shall we have a look at what's been happening in Scotland over the last couple of weeks, Greg?
Cue the jingle.
Hello, this is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation, and here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, buddy. What have you seen in Scotland over the last couple of weeks you'd like to share with me and our lovely listeners?
Well, I've got one here that I'm not going to do the whole article. I'm just going to give you the byline. So Nigel Farage, who listeners in the UK will know as the leader of the sort of Conservative Party 2.0, otherwise known as Reform, is on the election trail currently, and his canvassing took him to the beautiful island of Shetland, where he did not receive a warm welcome. So the headline reads, Nigel Farage heckled on Shetland visit as Reform leader tours north of Scotland. The Reform UK leader was greeted by a sign proclaiming him to be a frog-faced wanker. And there's a picture of the sign. And I love how the Day the Record has gone to the trouble of asterisking out the letters A, N, K, and E in the word wanker. But they've just printed the picture of the sign without any sort of censorship. So
seen that. That's amazing.
For our overseas listeners, probably the best description the best description of Nigel Farage I could give you is maybe like a sort of a kind of Donald Trump light, if you like, only with a bit more smarm and a bit less potential dementia. I mean, he's the absolute epitome of cunt. And, you know, if you think of the words cunt and how it's used in the UK, generally speaking, just close your eyes and imagine what that word personified looks like. Even if you've not seen Nigel Farage before, you're probably going to come up with a fairly close image of what the man actually looks like. So yeah, frog-faced wanker, Nigel Farage. Don't think he went down too well in Shetland. He's never gone down very well in Scotland anyway. So.
No.
Years ago, there was a picture of, because he's very much the sort of stop the small boats guy, and there was a picture of him standing on the beach years ago with the sea behind him, and he's saying something like, you maybe can't see it, but you know what's behind me right now? And somebody had commented under the picture, I really hope it's a frog man with a hammer. Which, you know, I mean, there's some absolute geniuses on the internet, and, you know, some of them don't get the credit they deserve. Anyway, Let's move on to more terra firma for our Culture Swally type stories. So this one comes from the Daily Record on the 15th of April, just a couple of days ago. And the headline reads, One-legged yob threw angel delights at partner in row over false limb. Norman Gunn, age 41, which sounds like a haiku, acted in a threatening or abusive manner toward his partner in November 2025. So the article goes on to read, an amputee has been convicted after hurling angel delight at his partner in a row over his false leg. But how you explain that one away in the prison canteen. Norman Gunn admitted causing fear or alarm to his partner by throwing a tub of dessert at her in her home in November the 7th last year. You got to love the Day the Record. One-legged gun. As soon as you've been convicted, no sympathy. One-legged gun claimed he lashed out with a chocolate-flavoured milk-based pudding when she criticised the time he was taking to attach his prosthetic leg. Gunn, 41, admitted acting in a threatening or abusive manner toward his partner by hurling abuse, taking her phone and then throwing the dessert at her. The fiscal deputy Emma Farmer told Perth Sheriff Court the victim and the accused had been in an on-off relationship for over a year. This incident happened at her address. They were residing together. At 8:20pm there was an argument and she asked him to leave. Gunn replied, I'm putting my fucking leg on, you fucking prostitute. Seems like an overreaction. He proceeded to pick up a container of Angel Delight and threw it in her direction. She tried to phone her grandmother because she was upset and he took her phone. A member of the public was exiting a bus nearby and heard a noise from within the flat. They saw the victim hysterically crying and saying she needed the police as he had taken her phone. The police attended, but the victim did not wish to give a statement, but she did give a verbal account of what happened and was seen to be upset. Gunn of Perth also admitted smashing a pane of glass at the same woman's home on November the 30th last year, and sentence was deferred on both charges. Miss Farmer said at 9pm an argument ensued. The victim asked the accused to leave and said she wished to terminate the relationship. and the accused left. She locked the door. He then returned and smashed a window within the entrance door. A neighbour heard the commotion and the victim's distress and called the police. A search for Gunn was carried out and he was found hiding in the communal garden with a cut knuckle. He was arrested. His solicitor, Keith Sim, defending, told the court, he has never disputed that the arguments took place. He's always accepted the door was damaged by. He had left. He didn't have his phone as it had been damaged by the complainer. Mr. Gunn has a prosthetic leg. He lives 2 miles from the address and was not capable of walking back. He went back to ask her to phone a taxi and he was banging on the door and the glass was broken. So yeah, that's Norman Gunn, 41, with only one leg. You ever been so angry that you've thrown your dessert?
I would never throw Angel Delight. It's too wonderful. I used to love Angel Delight. Banana flavour, obviously, as we discussed on the previous episode. Or butterscotch. Or sometimes, if I was feeling cheeky, I'd mix it up. Have a little half banana, half butterscotch, a little mixture.
Banana scotch.
Yeah, fucking lovely. Beautiful.
Nice.
But yeah, no. Obviously, we don't condone any form of domestic abuse or anything, or throwing anything. But obviously, the fact that he was throwing Angel Delight and has a false leg kind of writes itself. But no, I don't think I've ever been so angry I've thrown a dessert. What about you?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I tend to be pretty good at keeping the old anger in check. Certainly wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't be wasting a delicious bowl of Angel Delight. So yeah. What to do? I mean, I bought some Angel Delight a few weeks ago, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
It's the first time I'd had it in years. And everybody in the house turned their nose up at it when I offered it around. Yeah, but I bought two. I bought a butterscotch one and the strawberry one because they were the only 2 flavours available. And I don't think Angel Delight had passed these lips for, 30 years, maybe more. And I ended up eating the whole thing myself. And not a bit of guilt.
Nah, amazing. I used to love Angel Delight. I used to have it quite a few days a week when I was a youngster. And I used to love it before it had properly set.
Yeah.
Like, it's still runny. That's when I liked it. It was just thick enough, but not like it hadn't set like a mousse yet. But never got a chance to go in the fridge when I was around. It was fucking gone.
Well, the reason I bought it, I wasn't inspired by Norman Gunn 41. I actually saw Scottish actor and former Doctor Who. I think he was on Off Menu maybe, and he described how a favourite pudding in his house with his family is butterscotch Angel Delight, but before it sets, you put Rolos in it.
Oh yeah, I do remember hearing this.
Rolos maybe it wasn't Rolos. I think something like Rolos. Yeah. And I thought to myself, I'm up for a bit of that.
Yeah, Rolos would be perfect with that. Yeah, I seem to remember. I do recall. I must have listened to that episode. I recall hearing that. But yeah. That's lovely. Wow. Yeah, very nice.
So that's my first story. What's your first story for this episode?
My first story this week, Greg, is from the Scottish Sun, and the headline is Bar Brawl. A YouTuber looking for Glasgow's roughest pubs attacked and robbed at notorious boozer. Punters outside.
I feel like everyone's about to learn a really important lesson here.
I've just got Britain's roughest pubs. It's exactly what it is, effectively. Punters outside Bell's Bar in the city's Springburn squared up to Honest Places host Danny before allegedly attacking him. Before heading to the boozer, the YouTuber from Manchester stopped off for a bevy at the Budgie on Blockhairn Road and Springburn's Morven Bar. But as soon as Danny turned up to Bell's Bar on Springburn Watt to try out their pints, he was confronted by 3 punters blocking the entrance. In the video, one of them warns him, "You don't come in here with cameras." In a tense standoff, one man grabs a metal chair, brandishing it at the vlogger, before a pal steps in to stop him. Moments later, another man is seen picking up the chair as if he is about to hurl it at Danny, before putting it back down. Danny then asks if he can head into the pub next door, but is told to leave the area. The footage cuts away before Danny reappears on camera, claiming he has been chased by 4 men. He tells his 112,000 subscribers. Now, I remember from previous podcasts, I, for some reason, can't do a Manchester accent, so I'm not going to do a Manchester accent. I remember I tried on a previous episode and it was terrible. Somehow off pod I can do it, but 4 guys ran away. I always goes into Scouse. 4 guys ran after me and stole my phone and glasses. They sucker punched me. I have a chipped tooth now. They wanted the camera footage.
Got a chipped tooth.
Thousands of viewers piled into the comments section of the video titled "Attacked by Scottish Scumbags" on Glasgow's roughest pub crawl to share their reaction to the shocking scenes. One wrote, "I'm 42 years old and I lived in Glasgow my whole life. Situational awareness is a Glaswegian superpower." You just basically walked directly into trouble and then got upset when it happened. You are one brave man. I wouldn't have gone anywhere near them with or without a camera. A second person added, "Some of these scheme pubs are just total no-go areas." We previously told how a knife-wielding maniac hacked at a man with a machete in Bell's Bar last December. The shocking video shows the blade-wielding thug slipping into the busy pub unnoticed as a large group of revellers enjoy some karaoke. And yeah, one of the comments in the Sun article just says, "He's asking for trouble. He might get away with it in the Klansman, but no in Bell's Bar." So fucking hell, like he's found what he was looking for.
Well, yeah,
hard boozer, but I don't think he liked it when it actually got a bit tasty for him.
I love how he says they were after the footage, like he had like an old JVC video camera on his shoulder or something.
Yeah, they wanted the footage. Yeah, they wanted the camera footage. I've got a chipped tooth now.
Like, you know, I've been in, like, I don't know if I've ever been in like in a really rough pub. I've been in pubs where, you know, it's pretty, you realise pretty quickly that you kind of keep yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
You have your pint. You don't look at anybody for too long, you know. I always remember, I may have told this story in the pod before, but when I worked at Frankie and Benny's at the Quay, I had a Saturday off, but we had to go in for a staff meeting this Saturday morning, and there was a guy called... his name was Andy, I won't say his second name, who was also a waiter. He's a big Rangers fan. And he was, you know, when we finished the meeting, it was about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and he said, "Do you want, come on, we'll go for a pint." So we went for a pint in the Scotsman Bar, which it's on the same street as the famous Lauriston Bar. I'll tell you what it is. Remember where we went to see New Order years ago, you and I?
Yeah.
It's just down from there, very nearby.
Okay.
Now, when we got in there, I mean, he was one of these guys, "Oh yeah, I drink in here all the time. I've been in here hundreds of times," right? But I had never been in. When we went in, we realised that it wasn't just a Rangers pub, but it was a sort of staunch Rangers pub. You know, we're talking sort of red hand of Ulster flags behind the bar and that kind of thing. Now, Andy, who had been in there hundreds of times, was wearing what can best be described as a sort of pea soup coloured zipper. Right? So we went in, obviously it's quiet, it's like 1 or 2 old guys in there, it's 11 in the morning, there's a barmaid working, we go for a game of pool, I get a couple of pints, and it's fine, so him and I having a couple of rounds of pool, and this guy comes in, who also worked in there, and he looked a bit like Eric Cullen, only taller, you know what I mean? He had like really thick specs on, and you know, he kind of looked over at Andy, and I could see him looking over and sort of remonstrating with the bartender, because Andy was wearing something green, although it wasn't Celtic green, it wasn't like that, the kind of lime green that Celtic play in, it was like army green, if anything, the kind of browny green, and he was fucking raging, and the Rangers were at home that Saturday, but I guess we must have been playing at 3 o'clock, because if it had been an earlier kickoff, the pub would have been busy, I assume, because it's not that far from Ibrox. But I realised, and I could see him fucking talking to the 1 or 2 of the older guys at the bar, obviously outraged that to his mind there was this Celtic supporter in the pub and everything. So I said to Andy, "Look, better finish these and maybe go. Let's go up to Shawlands where you know, it's a bit friendlier."
Yeah, you don't really want to muck around, and you guess you just, you know, where not to go. And It's exactly as the commentator has said. Like, you like that situational awareness is a Glaswegian superpower.
Well, it wasn't Andy's superpower, clearly. You know what I mean? It hadn't even seemed to occur to him, the faux pas that he'd made.
But I'm glad that this YouTuber obviously got the footage that he so craved. Never mind. What else have you seen this week, buddy?
I hope it was worth a chip tooth. So the next one comes from Glasgow Live, and the headline reads, American model in Scotland shares 8 foods that left her genuinely confused. This is model Courtney, with a K, Monroe. She's moved from New York City to Scotland and has revealed a number of her classic foods which caught her off guard. Some of them you can probably guess, others are a bit more unusual. So the article goes on to read, Scotland has so much to offer, from breathtaking landscapes and our enduring sense of style, to rich history embedded in every rock, brick and stone. And then, of course, there's the food and drink. We all know Scottish cuisine ranks among the world's finest, but it's perfectly understandable if visitors might get caught a bit off guard by some of our favourites. One American woman, who's relocated here from New York City, has highlighted several classic Scottish delicacies which she said genuinely confused her upon first arrival. Model Courtney Monroe regularly posts updates about her new life with her 22,000 plus followers on Instagram. She's identified a range of foods which left her a bit bewildered when she first encountered them. Number one is a classic and one which often catches foreigners off guard. Haggis. Courtney wrote, They told me what was in it after I tried it. I'm not the same person anymore, but it tastes so good. She noted that haggis cannot be legally imported to the USA, meaning that anyone who wants to sample an authentic version has no option but to make the trip themselves. This is because traditional haggis is made with sheep's lungs and is illegal in the USA, if you can believe this, considering the shite that they eat, to consume any type of animal lung, as they can contain more microorganisms and toxins than any other part of the body. Apologies to our American listeners, but you do eat quite a lot of crap.
I did see something on Reddit. I think it was around about Burns Night, and someone asking, like, why is haggis, banned in the US? And the top comment just said, there's not enough corn syrup in it.
Exactly. Yeah. There's not enough chicken embryo in it. Coming in at number 2 on Courtney's list is a firm favourite among those who enjoy a drink that packs a punch and delivers a hefty energy boost along the way. She said, Buckfast also can't be imported to the USA. Among those who enjoy a drink and packs a punch and delivers a hefty energy boost. She said, Buckfast also can't be imported to the US, which basically knocks Scotland out of the World Cup before it's even started. Buckfast, or Bucky, as it's affectionately known by aficionados, can't be brought into the
Buckfast sommeliers.
Yeah, can't be brought into the USA, get this, due to its high caffeine content. Fucking hell.
What?
I know.
How much Monster do they drink in the States?
No, there can't be more Monster. There can't be more caffeine in Bucky than there is in Monster, surely.
I will do a fact check right now.
While you're doing that, third on Courtney's list is something a touch easier on your liver, holding up a packet of well-fired morning rolls, showcasing the eye-catching charred top. She said, I genuinely thought these had expired when I first saw them. It turns out this is on purpose, and people prefer them. 4 on the list is another drink, and no great surprise, it's Iron Brew. But Courtney said, Scotland's national drink is an orange-coloured soda that tastes indescribable. Just try it, especially for a hangover cure. 5th place goes to something a bit more refined, like kind of wedding favourite Balmoral chicken. Courtney wrote, chicken stuffed with haggis, wrapped in bacon, all caps. This country does not miss! Multiple exclamation marks. So I think it's fair to say that she liked the Balmoral chicken. 6th on the list isn't exclusively Scottish, but it was something that Courtney had previously... It wasn't something that Courtney had previously encountered before arriving here. Displaying a photo of a Morrison's tuna and sweet corn sandwich, she wrote, the sweet corn and the tuna was not something New York City had prepared me for. Coming in at number 7 is the ever-popular Tunnock's tea cake. Courtney describes the iconic treats as a chocolate UFO filled with marshmallow, adding, confused at first, but now I can't stop. And rounding off the list in spectacular fashion is the full Scottish breakfast, sharing a snap of her loaded plate, complete with scrambled eggs, sausages, a grilled tomato, and mushroom, bacon toast, and square sausage that gives Nicky heartburn. She dubbed the legendary feast, not for the weak. She wrote, New York has a big breakfast. Scotland said, hold my iron brew. Whoa. Wrapping up her post, she remarked, no shade. I've been converted in some of these. Followers in her comments were quick to chip in with their own recommendations for Scottish delicacies Courtney ought to sample. One suggested, Scottish tablet is heavenly, and another enthused, best hangover cure is a well-fired roll with square sausage, fried onions and cheese. Blah, with lashings of ketchup. Blah.
Oh no.
Washed down with iron brew. You think of it, I mean, the one thing that she's not tried, that she might struggle to try because seems that she's in Edinburgh, she's not in the northeast, is a rowie.
Yeah, I'd imagine that would probably confuse her as well a little bit because of what's in it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a good list, but I don't know if, the chicken stuff with haggis is good. Iron brew, obviously. The well-fired rolls. The tuna and sweet corn's a thing that, I don't know. I didn't realise that was particularly a Scottish thing.
Well, they say it's not a Scottish thing, but she wasn't, I think putting sweet corn through tuna is not something that she was familiar with. She enjoyed it. Okay. We can't really recommend Maury Cup to her because she is an African-American model and the label is culturally insensitive, or at least it certainly used to be. Maybe we could let her have some red cola. Yeah,
I think so. Some Bon Accord red cola. Did you know that your average standard single shot of espresso contains about, it says 63 to 75 milligrams of caffeine, right? Let's say 70 to be on the safe side, yeah?
Okay.
Your average can of Monster contains 160 milligrams of caffeine, and your average bottle of Bucky contains 280 to 300 milligrams of caffeine. So it's nearly twice a can of Monster, and it's quite mental. Nearly 4 times an espresso. So
can you imagine
a bottle of Bucky and 15% alcohol?
Can you imagine the more kind of combative, if you like, Trump kind of make America great again supporters if they were full of Buckfast? Can you imagine? They'd be running into hails of bullets and all sorts when they like nothing the police have ever seen before. It's like, holy shit.
I mean, dude, you never know. Like, I don't think, they're not stupid. The Tartan Army won't be silly enough to smuggle Buckfast into the States. That's just asking for trouble. But it's, you never know. I've seen more inventive things. It's not like, I think for the Euros last year in Germany, there was somebody drove a minibus full of Bucky.
Oh yeah, that's
into
right.
where we're playing and sold it in the streets.
That's right.
Genius. I would have paid for their trip. It's fucking brilliant. So I won't see any of that in the US.
I mean, honestly, I don't know how. I mean, even in my younger days, when I would say my capacity for alcohol was a lot broader than it maybe is as an older gentleman, with Buckfast, if it was out the fridge, I could maybe manage like a small glass of it. But see, at room temp, which is how it's sort of sold, it's like medicine. It reminds me of you remember the old sort of medicines for for coughs and colds that you used to get when you were wee. It kind of reminds me of that, only obviously with booze and there's a caffeine in it. I don't know how you could binge drink it like that, like the way that some of the young team do. You can just imagine throwing it back up again, you know?
I don't think it's about the journey for them, it's about the destination.
It's a sort of booze equivalent of like sniffing glue or something, you know what I mean?
Basically what it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe that should be Buckfast's new strapline. Buckfast. It's not about the journey, it's about the destination.
Yeah, exactly. They've dropped Buckfast to make you fuck fast, and they've come up with that one.
Yeah, Buckfast for an early night. Anyway, that's Courtney. So yeah, I followed Courtney.
Oh, have you really?
On our Culture Swally Instagram account, and I have to say her observations about Scotland, I would say, are both sensitive and generous. She's obviously really enjoying life here. Like she talks about, I mean, she's coming from New York City, which is sort of famously one of the most expensive places to live in the world, I think. When she's come to Scotland, she's getting a lot more flats for her rent money than she was getting in the US. She finds that buying groceries are nowhere near as expensive and the food's a lot cleaner, she said as well. Yes, very, very generous about her life in Scotland. She's obviously really enjoying it. So yeah, I've had to follow Courtney. It's Courtney Kourtnee Monroe, spelt the same way as Marilyn Monroe spelt her name. It's funny, ironically, she's got a bit of a Scottish second name as well. So maybe that's one of the reasons. I think she came for love. I think she followed her boyfriend, nice. or girlfriend, maybe over here. So.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, all the best, Courtney, and I'm glad you're enjoying your time in Scotland. And yeah, great. I look forward to seeing what you're up to in future.
Yeah. So that's my second story. What's your next one?
Well, we were speaking about the young team earlier, Greg. So I'm going to have a little bit of young team chat from the Scottish Sun this week. The headline is Real Trouble. Unruly kids who wrecked a screening and trashed a cinema were hauled back by their fuming parents to apologise and clean up. Now, when I read this, I was like, I can't wait to speak to Greg about this. Could you fucking imagine this happening in a Dubai cinema? The youngsters, thought to be as young as 13, were accused of brawling, chucking food and hollering during a screening of Super Mario Galaxy. Now, there's a photograph here of angry cinema goer took snaps of the mess left behind by the kids. I genuinely think it just looks like a normal cinema aisle after a screening. Like, they haven't picked up their wrappers and stuff. That's it. There's not much else mess, really. It's claimed... Okay, I would be annoyed at this. It's claimed they even played the harmonica during the early evening show. Now I remember why I picked this. At Chalmers Cinema in Arbroath, Angus, when some of their horrified mums got wind of what they'd been up to, they dragged them back to make amends. Someone who sat through the chaos said, "There's a difference between kids being excited and just having no manners at all." Jumping all over the place, shouting through the film, throwing food, toy fighting, swearing, phones blasting. Someone even had a harmonica out. Someone even had a harmonica out. Honestly, what is that? Cinema staff aren't there to parent your kids, and other people shouldn't have to say anything either. Photos showing the mess left at the independent venue after the screening were posted on social media. When raging parents discovered their sons had been involved, they took immediate action. At least 3 of the lads were taken back to the venue and ordered to say sorry. 13, can you imagine that? Fuck off, mum. One of the mothers said, "My eldest was there, and I am absolutely fuming at this. It's not how he's been brought up. He's been dragged back down there. I apologise to everyone who had this experience spoiled by the behaviour of my son and friends." Now, it's funny, I've got a talking point later on about 80s Maz, and it's nice to see that in 2026 it's still alive and well in Arbroath.
Yeah.
Another added, "It is unacceptable and not how my son has been brought up to behave." I still love that preface. It's not how you've been brought up. At least one of the youngsters has been grounded and will spend all of Easter break indoors. Staff at the cinema invited him down to work for free. They said he can come and volunteer and help clean up everyone else's mess if you get sick of him. Chalmers is a community venue that prides itself on being open to everyone, but in the past they have had to call in cops to deal with out-of-control jobs. So yeah, that is they've just left a bit of a mess. I thought it was just a mess. Pulling out a harmonica. It's fucking brilliant. Who the fuck? I mean, I had a toy harmonica when I was a kid, but it's good to know that people are still giving kids harmonicas as presents or toys. Fucking brilliant. But to pull one out, if you're going to watch Super Mario Galaxy, you're bound to be aware, especially if it's Easter holidays.
Yeah.
There's going to be a little bit of a a racket, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, I remember as a kid when I lived in Barrow-in-Furness, and for my friend's birthday, we went to the cinema to see the movie Batteries Not Included. Are you familiar with Batteries Not Included? Yeah. So it's got Jessica Tandy in it, and one of the other old guys from Cocoon, and sort of spacey faps. Very in some ways, it's a very 1980s film. Yeah. In other ways. But I actually saw it a few years ago, and it holds up all right. I quite liked it. But when we went to see it at the cinema, there used to be, so next door to the cinema in Barrow-in-Furness, there was a sweet shop called the Bon Bon, and you would go and buy your sweets from there before you went into the cinema because they were cheaper than this concession stand. And there was these sweets. I never saw them anywhere before, and I've never seen them anywhere since, and they're called Cherry Lips, and they were really small, really, really hard gummies in the shape, I guess in the shape of like a very small mouth. And they came in a kind of cardboard triangular tube, which had a picture of a squirrel on it. I have to do a bit of research, I think, into the Cherry Lips at some point. The point is that they were almost impossible to eat because they were you'd be chewing them for fucking ages, and you'd end up just spitting them out anyway. So we started throwing them around in the cinema because Batteries Not Included was not holding our attention. And the cinema wasn't that busy, so we're kind of moving seats and we're flicking these sweets at each other and having a giggle and everything. And there was a family in there watching the film. I think maybe one or two kids and mum and dad, and the mum fucking bollocked us, and we did not move for the rest of the film because we were so. I think she said something like, "If you don't stop, I'm going to get the usher to throw you out," or something like that. I can't really quite remember. I just remember her fucking bollocking us. And we didn't see her. It was just a voice from the darkness. You know what I mean? She didn't come and confront us or anything, but we knew that she was talking to us, obviously. And yeah, I remember just being fucking struck, absolutely numb with fear, sitting through the rest of the film like a good boy. So maybe maybe it needed an 80s ma in the cinema to sort those kids out. Put that harmonica away, you wee bastards.
I don't think I ever did anything bad in the cinema. I haven't got any bad cinema stories about that. I remember coming out of a screening once. I must have been about 11, and it was my friend David Stewart, and we were walking down the steps, and this old woman was walking past, and she smiled at us, and I kind of smiled back, and then he just blurted out, I don't think he saw her properly. We'd just been in to see a Hulk Hogan film, and he came out and blurted out the name of the film but changed a letter. So it was just like a playful joke. We're walking down the steps, this old woman's passing, and he just blurts out, almost like he had Tourette's in a way, Mr. Fanny, ha ha. And the whole woman's face changed to like, oh my, ruffians, kids, because he just shouted Fanny in her face, basically. But that was outside the cinema, so I don't really remember having anything else.
I remember I was mates with a kid called David Jury, who was, I think he was maybe 2 years older than me, and him and I went out and go to the cinema one day. And
is his nickname Jukebox? It should have been.
No, it should have been. But it was Jury as in Judge and Jury, Jury. Big bit, it would still have worked really well. Jury. Yeah, we weren't cool enough to come up with something like that at that age. So I think I would probably maybe been about 12 or 13, and he was like maybe 15, maybe 16, and so we hadn't really decided what film we were going to go and see. We said, let's go in and see what's starting, and there was two films starting about the same time. There was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with Rick Moranis, Disney movie. Mm-hmm. And there was Harlem Nights with Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor.
Yes.
And David said, come on, we'll sneak into Harlem Nights, because there was, all the cinemas were off a corridor. So as long as there was nobody there, you could. So we bought tickets for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And I didn't really want to do it because I was a bit frightened. I was kind of, in my mind I was thinking, well, if they find me in because Harlem Nights was an 18. I thought if they find me in an 18 film, they go, I'll go to jail. You know what I mean? The police will come and they'll phone my mum and I'll get in trouble and all this. And David was like, yeah, come on. So we went in, and I remember like spending the first, all through the trailers and the adverts, and maybe I don't know, maybe like half an hour of the film, just expecting like a heavy hand to descend on my shoulder and get turfed out. But we didn't. We got through the whole film. And then I remember as we were leaving thinking, oh, fucking hell, what if they see us coming out? And so I said to David, I was like, well, what if like one of the staff sees us coming out? They'll know we're just watching 18. He's like, who gives a fuck? Fuck them. What can they do? The film's finished. But I was still, what if they like arrest us, you know? But anyway, we got away with it. And I remember as we were waiting for the bus feeling like high as fuck because I'd just seen an 18 rated movie in the cinema and I would be able to tell my mates about it and they wouldn't have seen it, you know? They'd have to wait till it come out in video. I just feeling like Billy Big Bollocks.
Very good. Very nice. Oh, lovely. Oh, well, that is the cinema hour over with the Scotch kids. Scotch kids? The Scots kids wrecking this cinema. Have you seen anything else this week, buddy?
Nope, I have not. That's all the news from me.
Okay. Right, before we get into, I think, a very sweary section of the show, let's have a little word from our sponsor.
Pardon me.
Morning.
I'm trying to find a Loch Ness monster.
Down this road, 100 yards, out of Humpback Brig, down past the Kirk, the right-hand side.
Carry on down the brae and you'll take a right at Drumnadrocket.
I want to go Tyne Drum, Coola, Scramadale.
And it'll be a broadrich moonlight night to night in Drumnadrocket.
And then you'll see a big bun and a football pitch.
There isn't such a thing as a monster. That's only for the tourists.
Okay, Greg, so it was your choice. So why don't you tell us what we're going to be talking about on the podcast today?
Well, it's rare that we have such a recent film to talk about, but fortunately last year this movie was released, and to say that it's been successful and critically acclaimed would be to understate it. I think it's got something like, of the 60 reviews it's got in Rotten Tomatoes, it's like 100% for every one of them, which not many films are regarded on that website like that. But the movie is the British biographical drama written, directed and produced by Kirk Jones, based on the true life story of John Davidson, who, before the film was made, sort of, I hesitate to use the word celebrity, but he was certainly very well known in Scotland, at least, because he suffers with severe Tourette syndrome, and he was the subject of a documentary in the BBC in the late 80s. Called John's Not Mad, when he was a teenager. The movie is called I Swear, and it's all about John's life. It stars Robert Aramayo as John himself, Maxine Peake as Dottie, his friend's mum, who sort of becomes his champion, if you like, Shirley Henderson, who plays John's mum, and Peter Mullan. Came out last year. It's at the centre of a bit of unfortunate controversy this year because at the BAFTA Awards, the film was up for some nominations and John was invited, and unfortunately he can't control what he says and his tics and whatnot, and he shouted out something, involuntarily shouted out something regrettable when Michael B. Johnson was presenting an award on the stage. But controversy aside, the film has been incredibly successful. Aramayo, if you've seen the film, and if you haven't, you should definitely watch it before continuing with the podcast. Aramayo won the Best Actor award at the BAFTAs this year for his portrayal, and rightly so, because not only is it an amazing physical performance from him, but what makes it the more amazing, which is going to sound really stupid, is the fact that he's not even Scottish, and I didn't realise that until after the film. Unlike Maxine Peake, who I knew wasn't Scottish, and if I hadn't known that before I watched the film, I would have known after her first line, because her Scottish accent is very poor. But yeah, I Swear. I watched it maybe a couple of months ago, actually, with my wife. We watched it one night, both thoroughly enjoyed it. I watched it again with my daughter and her boyfriend just a couple of weeks ago. And my daughter's boyfriend's from Chile. Wasn't sure what he would make of it, but he really liked it as well. And I obviously watched it again for the podcast to make my notes. I think you and I have kind of avoided talking about it because we knew that it would we'd be talking about it on the podcast. I know that I think you watched it for the first time a few weeks ago as well, right?
Yeah, it was one of those films when it was announced I was desperate to watch, and I think we'd been messaging about it. And of course, obviously doing this podcast, we're a lot closer to Scottish media and stuff that's coming out. So we knew all about it. Couldn't wait to see it. And I think I waited probably... Did I think I was going to wait until we did it on the pod? I think it became available. Anyway, I can't remember, but for some reason I hadn't watched it as soon as it came out. And I remember when you watched it, because you messaged me. Ironically, I was watching Sinners at the time. Right. And you messaged me to say that you just watched I Swear.
Yeah.
And that was all you said. It was great. Maxine Peake's accent's fucking atrocious. And I think I waited. I think it was the following week. We were recording, and I thought you were going to pick I Swear. You didn't. But then I watched it that evening. That's a long story. Yeah, I watched it. I think, same as yourself, and we'll probably discuss. I mean, I was familiar with John, and I can't remember where I joined on the story. I would have been 8 when John's Not Mad aired, but I feel like I watched it. I'm sure I did, because I do remember. Now, I know... Obviously, there's been 2 subsequent documentaries, 2002's The Boy Can't Help It and 2009's Tourette's I Swear I Can't Help It. I know I watched them. I watched all 3 of them again yesterday as well. But I think I definitely knew about John, of course, John Davidson. And I feel I was quite well versed in Tourette's as well and knew all about the subject. And, not all about, but as much as an educated person does. So I was really excited about seeing this film. And I know that we had swapped the trailer, and the trailer just looked great. To be honest, as soon as you see Peter Mullan attached to a project, especially in a role like that, you're like, okay, this is going to be good. Maxine Peake, obviously we'll discuss her later, accent aside, she's a phenomenal actress.
She is. Yeah.
And it's a mark of quality, I think, if she's in something. She doesn't fuck around and do shitty thing. So when you see Peter Mullan as well, and you're like, okay, you kind of know this is going to be in safe hands. This is going to be a subject that is dealt with sensitively, but let's be honest, it is a funny condition, and I think this film handles that so well. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely adored the film when I watched it. Absolutely loved it.
You mentioned it there. I remember when John's Not Mad came out, I never watched it because, I think QED was on quite a bit late anyway, and I'm not sure that my mother would have had to have let me watch it. But I do remember a lot of kids talking about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because obviously, when it came out 1988, I was 10 years old, right? And somebody swearing uncontrollably when you're 10 years old in the 1980s is really funny, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, because I hadn't seen the documentary, I didn't have any context other than the fact there's this kid in Scotland who can't stop swearing. I'm paraphrasing a wee bit, but basically that was it. But I remember a lot of people talking about it. I did end up watching it eventually when I was a lot older. But even then, the thing that sort of strikes, and I watched John's Not Mad again for the podcast. The thing that strikes me about it is it's not as sensitive to John's condition as the film is, I don't think. No. Now, I guess in the time between John's Not Mad coming out and the movie coming out, I guess we understand a lot more about the Tourette's, the condition of Tourette's, than maybe we did nearly 40 years ago. But yeah, because when I first started rewatching, and I hadn't seen John's Not Mad for years, I thought, well, in the film, Shirley Henderson doesn't play his mum all that sympathetically. You know what I mean? Because she seems quite sensitive to John's condition. But then as the documentary goes on, she refers to it as like a carry-on and all that kind of thing, which then kind of makes the performance that Shirley Henderson puts in, makes it make a bit more sense. You know what I mean? But the thing that struck me in all 3 times that I've watched this is Robert Aramayo and what's the young guy called? Scott Ellis Watson, who plays John when he's younger. I mean, the performances are amazing. And I think especially with Scott Ellis Watson, because he has to portray John as these sort of symptoms are beginning to manifest. So at the beginning of the film, he's kind of fairly typical, maybe, above average teenage boy, kind of promising goalkeeper, works hard at school, and all that kind of thing. And then he's just about to start high school, and then, Scott Ellis Watson portrays him basically as he kind of is Tourette's kind of ruins his life, for want of a better kind of phrase. And he's just he's a very young actor, but it's astonishingly good. He's fucking really, really good. I don't understand why people aren't talking about him in the same way as they're talking about the young kid from Adolescence who plays and don't get me wrong, he's absolutely brilliant. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I just mean that they're both like amazing performances from two really young, fairly untested actors. He's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Scott Ellis Watson. Fantastic.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the film does an incredible job of the early part of the film of setting the scene, showing that John has, and I hate to use this term, but for want of a better life, he has a normal life.
Yeah,
and
he's a normal kid.
He's normal things, playing football, fishing. He seems pretty popular at school. He's asking girls out. He's not shy. He seems like he's well liked. And the way that this just suddenly happens and appears and starts taking over, and the fact he's not getting any sympathy for it, and it's just being told to stop carrying on and to don't be stupid, and why are you doing this, and it's getting him into trouble. It's an incredible, like, he's slowly getting ostracized, and he's a popular kid and just getting pushed further and further out because his actions are misunderstood. And I really think they do an incredible job of showing that, because you really feel sorry for John. But as you say, it is the performance that we have by Scott Ellis Watson that just makes it so masterful, that you are caring for him and you are like, oh, John, come on. He didn't mean it. And you're there, you're horrified when he fucking spits the peas in Ron Donahue's face and says, it's fucking pish. Or something. You're like, oh no, what's going to happen here? Fucking, oh, what a shame.
Yeah. And the thing, because my daughter, she's been through high school in the 21st century, where, like at her school, they have a thing called inclusion, and inclusion is for kids with learning disabilities or disabled kids, or, and so they're kind of part of the school and part of the school community, but they also have their own sort of special lessons and things like that. But the fact of the matter is, these kids are part of the community, and like from what she tells me, like no one thinks of them any differently. And for her to see a depiction of high school in the UK in the early 1980s, when, as far as she's concerned, this young kid's got Tourette's, he's obviously got problems, and everybody, including the headmaster, nobody understands. People think that he's putting it on. That he's just doing it for attention, and you think, well, why would, as a teenage kid, it's not how you would try and get attention. No. I don't, I mean, if you didn't have any issue at all, if you didn't have any kind of problems, you wouldn't try and get attention by spitting peas in the headmaster's face and, and blurting out bad language and shouting and doing all that kind of thing. But, like we were at school in the 80s and 90s, and it's probably not that far off the mark, right? No. There was not a lot of sympathy for kids who were even slightly different, let alone having the challenges that John had at school.
That's what I wanted to ask you in terms of, from our perspective, going to school 10 years later as such. It was not vastly different. I don't think I had anyone in my year or school, that had issues like John, but there was a few kids in the school that probably did have something. And they went to special classes, but the name that everyone else had for those classes wasn't very nice. So it was pretty much the same. I mean, if you were different in any way at school, you were the term of abuse. Like, I hate to say, I mean, the obvious, it's horrible looking back, but, there's at least one, I think 2 kids in my year that were gay, and it was obvious, but it was used against them. So obviously they never felt comfortable coming out until after school. But it was a horrible place in terms of that, if there was anything different about you.
Yeah, I mean, we had kids at school is, you know, I remember kids at school who, in hindsight, probably had learning difficulties. You know, like kids who were hyperactive, kids who were, you know, probably dyslexic or, you know, or some of those types of disorders and things. And it just, you know, like, unless they were, if they could have those things and still be popular, like be kind of, you know, be sort of like come to school in the right clothes, for example, or be a laugh, you know, or be good looking or whatever. It wouldn't be until you were, I mean, I remember kids like in high school, remember like in like English in high school where and they do a bit of it in the film actually, where whatever book you were doing, everybody would, you know, the teacher would ask everybody to read a couple of pages of the book around the class. Yeah. I remember like being like 14, 15 years old, and there was kids in the English class that really struggled to read. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, well, I was in the second set, or the kind of middle set for English, because, you know, I mean, I probably should be in the top set, but I was lazy. I didn't try very hard at school. And I'm thinking, well, these kids like these kids in the same set as me, fucking, obviously they can't read properly. But like, it never occurred to me, oh, maybe they're dyslexic or whatever. I just thought, God, fucking get on with it, you fucking thick cunts. You know, we can get through the book. You know.
So he's obviously, the tics are showing, and he's not getting any sympathy at school, of course, but he's not getting any sympathy at home. And mentioned that in terms of his mum in the documentary, and it is his
dad.
Yeah, his dad. I mean, speak about that. Like his mum not giving him anything, and it just reminded me, just a right 80s ma. And it is the, you know, ticking at the dinner table. What's all this nonsense? Don't play the fool at dinner table. It's just, what is this? What is this nonsense? What are you doing now? What is this now? Stop this now. And it's just no nonsense 80s ma.
Yeah.
And
you got Tourette's, hot bath in an early night. That will sort it right out.
Yeah.
But I've still got...
John, what are you doing?
It's nothing. Don't worry about it.
What's all this nonsense?
I don't know.
Don't play the fool at the dinner table. What's the matter?
Listen, I don't want to talk about it.
John. John, where are you going?
John.
Well, don't you do let your dinner get...
That's why, like, initially I was like, okay, it's not that bad. But yeah, as the film develops, obviously, you do grow to kind of resent. I think it's because you got Dottie, and who's all, you know, sunshine and light. You do go to kind of resent in terms of the mum a little bit. And yeah, the dad just fucks off, never seen again or heard from again. Yeah,
I think he's mentioned when him and Murray are talking about going out for a pint, and John mentions that he went for a pint with his dad once in a bar. I can't remember the name of the bar that he mentions, but he goes for a pint with his dad once, and that was it. I honestly presumed that was before he would have been, like, you know, 14 or something. That's when I took that as of maybe, but it could be later on. I thought he was like supposed to be sort of late teens, early 20s by the time when he reconnects with Murray. You know, when they bump into each other in the supermarket, and Murray's just come back from Australia, and he's still on his medication, so he can't drink. Because Murray asks him out for a beer, and Henderson says he can't. Would have thought, because we'll come back to this, because for me the timeline is a little bit muddled up in terms of stuff towards the end. But if you're going by the way it says 1983 at the beginning, and then it just says 13 years later, before he meets Murray. So if you're thinking he's just starting big school, so he's maybe about 12, you know, in there, so he'd be 25. And Murray's been to Australia, so he's obviously and come back, so his mum's not well. So like early mid-20s. I think we're on the same page. But yeah, I think that he's not getting the sympathy at home, and it's horrific in terms of the way that the things come around and come about, and that's what I really like about this film. Like, it doesn't feel, you know, you're watching a kid struggle like this, and as later on as well, like, but this film doesn't feel worthy, if you know what I mean. Like, it doesn't feel like it's forcing the message down your throat, but you do feel more educated about watching it. And I think the reason for that is they do a brilliant job of setting up the early John in that early time period, finding out what he's been through, that he's got no trust. So we can have like a huge jump of 13 years, and you're not thinking, what's been happening all this time? They sum it up pretty quickly. In that little bit, you see him, you know, waking up, taking his medication, and then with his mum. So, you know, he's still living at home. It's 13 years later, and he's taking medication, and he's still ticking. That's
they do a good job of kind of moving that forward with that.
Yeah, and I think what they do quite well is that, none of the characters at the beginning of the film really understand Tourette. And then, he meets more sympathetic people, like Dottie, played by Maxine Peake, and Tommy, played by Peter Mullan. And Tommy doesn't really understand Tourette's, but he can see that John can't control it, and he's a good guy, and he sort of sees past the Tourette symptoms. But, as the audience, we sort of learn more about Tourette's with the characters.
Yeah,
as we go on, you know what I mean. I think that's one of the sort of strengths of the movie, because it's sort of, we're all on the same level at the beginning of the film almost, and then like for the sort of casual audience, for people who aren't mental health specialists and don't know about Tourette, it's just assuming that most of the audience are like you and I, who know a little bit about it, like Pete off Big Brother 2, and John's 7, so it's 7.
Yeah, Big Brother 7.
Really?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
My encyclopedic knowledge of the first 8 seasons of Big Brother UK. Yeah, we won Big Brother 7.
Okay. So, but as Dottie is, she's a mental health nurse, she says. But even I guess she sort of represents the fact that at that time, with the film set in the kind of early 90s, the condition's still not that understood. But she understands a bit more about it than the average person. That's why she's so patient with him, and she invites him to live with them and her family, and tries to help him sort of get on with his life despite his condition. But yeah, it's so well. It's so sensitively, and the thing is, they also acknowledge that sometimes it's funny.
Yeah,
and especially later on towards the end of the film, when John meets all the other young people that have Tourette's, and he sets up the groups for the parents and the things, and kind of builds a bit of a community for people who suffer from it. You don't feel guilty laughing at some of the things that John does, and you're not made to feel guilty either. It's really skillfully done, actually. The more you think about it, it's incredibly skillfully done.
It really is. There's a few absolutely hilarious lines that he comes out with that you should feel maybe guilty. But that's why I think the film excels. A couple of points there that I'll come back to, but the first, just to go with what you've said, this film is very funny, and I do think it's because John is funny. John's a funny guy, so it's not taking the piss out of Tourette's funny. It's just that John is a naturally funny person.
Yeah.
And of course, he's saying the worst thing that you could possibly say in that moment, but usually with quite comedy timing and in a way, because he obviously has that brain, but it's not just he's saying random stuff. Some of the stuff he says is right in with what's happening in the situation, and it's the worst possible thing you could say.
Well, he's the thing about John is he's charming and friendly, despite the fact he has these tics and these outbursts and things. He's and the people that know him really like him. Like Sanjeev Kohli's character and the newsagent's known him since a little boy, and Dottie warms to him immediately. His old friend Murray, and then he builds this really nice relationship with Tommy when they work in the community centre and everything. So he's a really charming fella, but he just happens to have these uncontrollable outbursts.
And I think you're right. You were saying earlier, that's where the film does this incredible job of building up you're going on the journey with John. As you say, the younger time, you don't know what's going on. You know as much as he does, really, in terms of that situation. And then when it's 13 years later, you're right, like bang, he meets Murray, and well, first of all, he's speaking to his mum, and she says about the medication, so you know he's on medication. You've seen him taking it. Then he's with Murray, and he gives Murray an explanation, which is perfectly done, of it's called Tourette's, there's no cure, I tic, I swear, I do this. That's it. Audience is right. Okay, now we know what it is. Then he meets Dottie, and you find out she's accepting of it. She knows, she's a mental health nurse. She asks about medication. She knows. She gives him the acceptance. Don't apologise in this house for something you can't control, which is wonderful. And then when you see him with Tommy, Peter Mullan, for the first time, that is one of the most important scenes, I think, in the film. Because when you first meet and he's speaking to John, and it's a testament to both of them to be able to do this, but particularly Peter Mullan as Tommy in this scene. John's ticking, and it's hilarious when they're having the chat because he's checking like, give me your cock in your hand.
Yeah.
Wrinkly old bastard. I'm a paedophile. And my personal favourite. Do you ever shut the fuck up? And
my favourite bit of that is when Tommy says, right, the most important part of the interview, and John goes, bum sex.
It's Mullan's reaction to those. He pauses and he just gives this little look of like, did you say what I think you just said?
Yeah.
It's almost like he catches himself before he comments, and then he just nods and agrees and So moving on. And it sounds so ridiculous to say that Peter Mullan is acting how everyone would react in that moment, I think. And
I think, don't think he is acting how everybody would react. I think he's just...
Not everyone, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, as the character, you would expect. Okay, I've been kind of briefed about John. I don't know. I've never seen it in action. I'll do my best. Dottie's told me to just ignore it, to not draw attention to it. I'll see. It's like if you're looking at someone who's got like one eye going cockeyed, you're kind of trying not to look, and you get in a panic thinking, which eye do I look in? Do I look, is it bad if I look in the wrong eye? Are they going to be like, it's this one? Or can they see that? I don't know. So it's similar to that. You don't want to draw attention to it. So you carry on, yeah, I'm listening. Yeah, I'm not thinking about your eye. Yeah, I'm listening. So I think that Mullan does a wonderful job of that. And it shows that we're all kind of caught up and educated on Tourette's. We see how it is in action and we know what's happening.
If you were to get a job, and it's an if, remember, because I'm seeing a few youngsters, right? Okay, just so you know that.
Wrinkly bastard.
You've got different events require different things. So, like a wee council meeting could be just a couple of tables. Then again, you could be laying out 200 seats for a pantomime or a school theatre production.
I'm a paedophile. Sorry, it's a tick.
No, that's all right. It's okay. Yeah. Do you want me to show you outside?
Aye, that'd be good.
Right, good.
And that's the beautiful thing about Tommy. And Mullan is Tommy. He has just such a warmth and a humanity to him. And it's like I say, like, I know it sounds stupid, but it just doesn't feel like he's acting. It just seems so natural and so normal throughout his performance. It's a wonderful performance from Mullan.
Yeah, and it's not, he's only in the film for maybe, I don't know, about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that, all told. There's the long scene where he's interviewing John, and then of course he comes to the court to speak out for John, and then there's a couple of little short scenes, and then that's it, and he's out. But you kind of feel like it's a bit of a bread and butter role for Mullan, and that he could do this kind of thing. He brings so much to these kind of warm mentor role. You think about where his career's gone in the last sort of 10 or 15 years. He's done, like he was in Warhorse, the Steven Spielberg movie about, based on the book. He plays the main character's father.
I've never seen Warhorse. Is it just about a horse that goes to war?
Yeah. I mean, it's... it's set in the First World War, and it's about, I think Peter Mullan plays the dad, and he's like a farmer, but he's a veteran of one of the wars that came before the First World War. Doesn't want his son to go off to war again, but I think he's conscripted in. But for some reason, like the horse is on the farm with him, and then he's sort of sequestered by the British Army, who need horses, because obviously the best thing to be in the back of when you're galloping towards a German machine gun is a horse. So the horse ends up being Benedict Cumberbatch's horse. And then, spoilers here for people who have not seen Warhorse, I know Nicky will never watch it.
No.
When Benedict Cumberbatch gets machine gunned off the horse, and the horse survives, and he becomes a German officer's horse.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and then he becomes a kind of working horse, sort of dragging carts through the mud and stuff. And then, if I remember right, the horse sort of makes a break for it into no man's land and gets entangled in barbed wire, which creates a sort of mini truce between the compassionate German and British soldiers who sort of work together to free the horse. The horse ends up back on the British side and somehow it becomes reunited with the boy from the farm.
Was this horse, like, did it have some sort of, was it gifted in any way? Because it sounds a lot like Forrest Gump the horse, the movie, to me.
It does.
Right.
I think the horse puts in a more convincing performance than Tom Hanks as a mentally disabled man.
Enough about Warhorse, right? But yeah, Mullan, you're right. He has carved out like a good kind of elder statesman part of his career.
Yeah.
I read that it was an interview actually I watched. It was with him and Shirley Henderson. I think it was on the red carpet for this actually. And he says that they approached him and they made him an offer. And the offer was crap. And it just didn't make financial sense for him to do the film. So he said he turned it down. And then they came back with an even lower offer. In fact, I think it was nothing. But they offered him a percentage of like the back end of the film. And Mullan said, like, I really admired their cheek. And that's the reason he did the film, because they were cheeky. But he also said, but they obviously believed in this so much. Yeah. And that's what sold it. That they were willing to do that to secure him because they believed in this film and this project. And I think that's probably worked out quite well for Mr. Mullan.
I feel like from seeing interviews and things with Peter Mullan, I feel like because he's a filmmaker himself, he made Orphans and he made Ned's. Mm-hmm. And he likes working with directors like Ken Loach, for example. Mm-hmm. These independent filmmakers, as much as his, we've just spent probably 5 minutes talking about the Steven Spielberg film. That's not typical of the type of work that Mullan tends to find himself in.
No.
So I feel like that that probably appealed to him. The fact that it's a passion project, I swear, I get the feel it's a passion project. It's maybe a bit of a marketeer's, I don't want to say bad dream, but probably a puzzle, right? How do we obviously want to market this film so it makes as much money as possible, but it has a lot of like top tier swearing in it. So that, it does need people to really believe in it to get the film made and get it distributed. And, they've already got this amazing cast before Mullan's even joined the project. So I wonder if that kind of appealed a bit to him. And I don't doubt that he was probably impressed with Robert Aramayo. We know that he likes working with young actors and he likes improvising scenes and all that kind of thing. It's a real feather in their cap that they managed to get him for such a pivotal role,
Yeah, but you can see his eyes kind of sparkle when he's working with Aramayo in some of the scenes. That you can tell he's enjoying himself and he's just being Peter Mullan in a way. And that's why it was such a shock. That's why the character Tommy is so pivotal to this in terms of he's the one that puts the idea in John's head about educating people and how he should be telling people this. He saves the day in court. I absolutely adore that bit when Tommy comes into the court and Maxine Peake's there and he walks in and she just says, "It's not going well, Tommy. He called the judge a cunt." And it's fucking brilliant. And he delivers this impassioned speech to the judge, does a great job, shows that how John's just the nicest guy. Next scene, he's dead. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I did not expect that coming at all. I did not see his death coming. I should have, because it is kind of foreshadowed at the very start of the film. Because he's not there when he meets the Queen. So obviously, something's happened. You obviously know that Dottie survives her cancer because she's only got 6 months to live. But there she is. But I was so surprised that they did that his character just dies. And I'm like, what the fuck?
And it's not like a big sort of dramatic Tommy clutching his chest after looking at something cheery, they could have had this like really schmaltzy scene where he's maybe looking at a few photographs that somebody's taken of him and John, that little wry smile and sipping a can, and then suddenly he starts to look a bit troubled and he clutches his chest and he falls and Rosie starts sniffing and nudging him with her nose and all this kind of thing. Like I'm glad they resisted that. They make it very sort of abrupt, but it's sort of authentic as well because it's not Tommy's film, it's John's film, and and we spend most, if not all of the film with John. I think that's true, right? I think where every scene pretty much is Robert Aramayo's in it. his journey, you know. So that's the right thing to do because, and I think it's more powerful because we're sort of on John's shoulder for the whole film. Then we discover that Tommy's passed away at the same time as John, and you know, emotionally it hits a lot harder.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely heartbreaking when he dies, and you're upset for John, but then even more so then when the police arrive. And you know John hasn't done anything, but he blurts out, obviously, I killed him. And the police have to take that seriously. So obviously, you know nothing's going to happen. You know John's not going to be charged for murder, but it's because we know the story. But you genuinely do feel peril, and oh John, oh no, what's going to happen now? You feel that, and that's a testament to the characters and the acting that you know it's going to be okay, but you still feel a bit of panic for him.
It's the same as the scene where, you know, he's got his own flat and he sort of falls in. He doesn't quite fall in with a bad crowd as such. I guess he kind of does. And they test his drug courier capabilities, and I've got drugs up my jumper as the police are walking past.
Half-price heroin. It's fucking brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Again, you're kind of worried and you're like, oh no, what's going to happen here? And even then they catch him. He's in the cells and you're thinking, how does he get out of this? Oh, it's a bag of sugar. And wonderful in terms of him getting out of there. And poor Dottie comes to save him, and all he can do is blurt out, Dottie's got drugs up her pussy. And... It's a beautiful, the next scene, like Dottie is laughing about it with him because, you know, it's showing that's the acceptance that we laugh about the things. It's funny what he said, but wholly inappropriate, but obviously gets him into trouble. Now, since we're speaking about that scene, I do have a slight issue in terms of timescales of that, because that's the police officer that later on recruits him to come and speak to the police, right? So originally we're in 1983 at the beginning of the film. Then 13 years later, so let's say 1996, right, great. That's when he meets Dottie. So I think she says before he moves into the flat, like, you've been in the box room for a year. So let's say it's 97, maybe 98 in terms of when the drug deal thing happens. But the police officer says he knew John from the early 90s. Okay, you can maybe say that, but then has he really risen to the ranks of that he's risen to in that time and then recruited John? I know it's meant to be like 10, 15 years later, but still, it just felt a little bit off to me.
Yeah, I think as you mentioned there earlier on, and the timing is a little hard to pin down. You know, like in the nightclub scene, they're playing All Right by Supergrass, and that would be, so the earliest, if they were being true to timing and stuff, I think the earliest that would be 1995. I think I Should Go came out in 1995.
Yeah.
So if that's supposed to be a contemporary song, and John is the film starts in 1983 when he's 12, so it's sort of 13 or 12 years later, so he's 25.
It says 13 years later on the screen.
Sorry, 13 years later. So it's 25 or 26. Yeah. And yeah, it's a bit of a... And the thing is, as well, the character of that policeman, I know that he's supposed to represent a guy who has had sort of become more sensitive and done well in his career. And, you know, by his own admission, he was a bit brash. The first time he met John, he didn't understand his condition. But I don't know if it's been very well portrayed, because he's a bit of a prick, as you mentioned. You know, and so the character, when he comes to meet John again, one, he's sort of over-familiar because he plays a trick on him, doesn't he? Like on the speaker, hey Davidson. And two, he's like a different guy altogether. So it's maybe like a wee bit of a misstep that bit for the film, perhaps. And that's obviously a very minor quibble.
I know,
but
it's, and I can agree. I can buy that the guy has changed, because he seems okay when he first arrests John, when he's speaking to Dottie. It's almost that he doesn't understand. So I could then see, you know, John educating him and then educating everyone else. But anyway, minor quip. Let's talk about her, Maxine Peake. She'll always be Twinkle from Dinner Leaders for me, or maybe Veronica from Shameless. But incredible career. And you know you're in safe hands when Maxine Peake's in something. She kind of reminds me, and I know this is a bit odd because they were in dinner ladies together. She reminds me a bit of Julie Walters in that kind of not elder, I mean, Christ, she's probably just a year or two older than us. Well, I don't know, actually, I need to check. But
I think she's a couple of years older than me, I think. She's like 1974, I think she's born.
Okay. So a very, very, well-regarded actress. She's great. When I first heard she's in this, I'm like, okay, that's good. That's safe hands, Maxine Peake. Then she opened her mouth. Could they not have just let her do her normal accent in this? It wouldn't have taken me out of it, I don't think. But God, she can't really do a Scottish accent, can she?
She can. And we've been through this before in various other things. I think about Jane Horrocks' accent on Sunshine and Leith. It's very poor.
Again, acting opposite Peter Mullan. Maybe it's Mullan.
Yeah, maybe he brings out the worst accents. Christophe Lambert's weird sort of Frenchy, I don't know, Irishy accent and Highlander and whatnot. I mean, I think what's true is that a Scottish accent's very difficult. Having said that, Robert Aramayo does an incredible Scottish accent. He's sort of in the maybe there should be a Johnny Lee Miller Award for the best Scottish accent in our Swally. Awards going forward. But I think it's difficult to do. I mean, how many English people or people from other countries have you met in your life that have tried to do a Scottish accent and you just felt like fucking knocking their teeth out because it's so bad, it's offensive? Yeah,
but that's your average punter on the street that is just going to walk into like a "Ochai the new" or
kind of Russ Abbott.
Like
See you, Jimmy.
This is a very well-trained actress who does this for a profession, and, you would think. But it is a hard accent to do. I will completely agree with that. So, and I take nothing, to be honest, we're kind of poking a bit of fun because it's the only thing that, is at fault really in this film. Her performance is just incredible. And accent aside, what a wonderful character and just perfect for John to meet just at the right time. I mean, actually, props go out to she's obviously raised her son Murray very well. What a lovely guy. Great pal to John. Meets him for the first time in years, takes him home and just completely changes his life. Yeah. And it's a wonderful thing for John that he gets to meet someone that understands him and accepts him and doesn't try to change him. It's more a case of let's adapt everyone else to your life. It's acceptance and the beautiful speech about not apologizing. I think it's it's wonderful. And she just lets him be. She gets him, and it's a beautiful thing. Like the stress and anxiety that John's going through and make his tics worse is lifted a little bit, and she just gets him, and it's a wonderful character.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Maxine Peake, she's if you look at her sort of her real life, if you like, I think she comes from fairly humble beginnings. She's quite working class. Like she had to sort of do a kind of version of Kickstarter to get accepted for the scholarship at Lambda, I think, or maybe Sylvia Young's or something. I can't remember, but one of the big drama schools in London. She's like tenacious. She was a big supporter of Jeremy Corbyn's when he was the Labour leader in sort of 10 years ago, and the stuff that he's done subsequently. She cares about causes and social issues and things, and I think it kind of informs a lot of the work that she does. She tends to be quite brave, I think, in the parts that she picks.
Yeah.
She famously played Myra Hindley in a drama about the Moors murderers. I mean, there's not many women I can't imagine there's many actors would relish playing a real life character who, one of the most hated women to ever come out the UK in the last 60, 70 years. I mean, and she was good. I watched her in it. She was very good. I thought, she didn't play the character particularly sympathetically, but nor did she she played the character. There's a real balance to the performance. She didn't play the character like a sort of completely nasty pantomime sort of villain either. There's a degree of complicitness and a degree of naivety in how she portrays Hindley, and you know, when I saw she was in this before I watched it, I hadn't really seen her in anything for a while, so I was quite looking forward to her performing. But again, like I think it sort of speaks to the things that she cares about in her private life, you know. You know, she's obviously a very compassionate woman, and you know, the accent aside, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a great part for her, and you know, you get used to the. Get used to the accent. It's just at the beginning when the sort of end scene that at the beginning when they're waiting to go in to see the Queen. It's a bit kind of whoa. What, really? The whole film? But I think, you know, if it had been a lesser actor with that accent, it would probably have been quite difficult to watch. But because she's so good, you kind of get your arms around the wafty accent.
And I think it's just us that notice. Well, I'm sure a lot of other Scottish people, but, you know.
My wife didn't notice, but she's not Scottish.
Yeah, I don't think my girlfriend noticed in terms of picking up on the accent. We would just obviously notice it because we're looking for that and listening for it, and because you're used to hearing Maxine Peake speak in a certain way, so when she does a Scottish accent, you're like, oh, what's going on there? I don't like that. This doesn't sound right.
John, I'll embarrass myself, don't you? I'll say something to Greg.
There's nothing you can say she hasn't heard before, eh? She's a woman of the world. She's a mum. She's a granny.
She's a queen of the United Kingdom.
Now, Davidson, you stop this right now and you listen to me, right? You're here today because you deserve to be. You've earned this title as much as anyone else in this fancy palace.
It's starting.
Like, we'll go save our seats.
I guess the other main female that we have in the film is Shirley Henderson, playing John's mum. Again, just fantastic. And she doesn't usually play a wrong-un, does she, Shirley Henderson? She did in Happy Valley. And
I never watched that.
I think she has done in something else. But
I was thinking about a movie that she was in with Kelly MacDonald recently. And I've only seen it once. It's an Irish film called Intermission. It's got Colin Farrell in it.
Oh, yeah.
And Shirley Henderson. It's a bit of an ensemble. I say I've only seen it once. I remember liking it. And she does an Irish accent in it. And it's a good Irish accent she does.
Yeah.
I've always really liked Shirley Henderson. I think probably the first thing I saw her in. Well, I'm saying that Shirley Henderson's one of those. I'm sure when I saw Trainspotting for the first time and she comes on the screen, and I feel like I probably thought, what's she been in?
Yeah.
You know, because she's one of those actors who has been on her screens for a long time, particularly in Scotland. You know, she's done the kind of Taggart trail, and we had her in Advocates, didn't we?
A young Shirley
years
Henderson,
ago. Very young, yeah. And of course, American Cousins, which is a sort of rare leading role for her, you know, it's a sort of joint lead. And what I like about her is, you know, she plays that age. So the age of John's mum, or the age that John's mum's supposed to be in I Swear, it's probably not that far away from the age that Shirley is herself now. So I think she's probably in her late 50s without looking her up. Maybe she's playing a wee bit older, especially toward the end of the film. But she's such a sensitive actor that, you know, she can kind of embody that older woman really well.
Yeah.
You know, you do feel, and there's a lot in the last scene where John is showing her is that an MBE the Queen gives him?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, you can tell that she's incredibly proud.
Yeah.
But she sort of comes from this sort of generation where, you know, like nurturing was something different. Yeah, to nurture was to make sure that your kids were up and their uniforms were clean and they had the breakfast in their stomachs and they got to school in time and they had what they needed and their dinner was on the table and all that kind of thing. It wasn't necessarily, you know, hugs and telling kids that they're proud of them and all that kind of thing, because they probably weren't raised in that way themselves, you know. So it's a really powerful scene, that one between her and Robert Aramayo at the end, because it kind of feels like there's a lot that they kind of both want to say to each other.
Yeah.
You know, in that last scene, you know, the fact that, you know, there's maybe regret from his mum, and that, you know, that she maybe feels that she should have done more for him when he was younger, or she should have maybe been more understanding or more supportive, and yet despite it all, here he is with this, and you know, to be honoured by the Queen for that generation.
Yeah.
Unless of course you're a Roman Catholic, is like huge, right? It's, this is a generation with the Charles and Di tea towels and the coronation teapots and all that sort of thing.
I think it's really difficult for the character because it's not a sympathetic character at all. But you have to look at the perspective. She's got 3 kids, and all of a sudden her son is starting shouting and spitting and swearing in the house, and there's never anything like this been seen before. And then her husband walks out and leaves her, single mum with these 3 kids, and then the son tries to kill himself, and she's left with him. And then over the course of those 13 years, it's difficult to say what she's had to endure with John, but it takes its toll. And I do agree she could have done more, and but I can imagine she's just worn down. And it's telling when she's in the supermarket, she's just kind of numb to his tics and things. And when Murray comes along, and that's what she says, we could both do with a break. It gives me a break. Yeah. And that's what it is. She's a full-time carer for John, effectively. Not that he really needs it, but I guess she needs to be there to keep him out of trouble. And I guess the sort of suggestion there is that, that John doesn't have really anything else going on. No. So he's always, they spend most of their time together. You know what I mean? He's always at home. He's always, it's just the 2 of them. The other kids have gone. What are you laughing at?
I've just got in my head, he's like a sweary version of Martin. You want an Empire biscuit, Martin? Wipe your arse for you, Martin. It's like a sweary version of that, really.
Yeah, I suppose. But the thing is, as well, I guess it's in that line, it'll be a break for both of us. It can be interpreted either way. It can be, at least John can go and spend some time with somebody his own age and a change of scene or whatnot. Or is it, she just needs a break from his tics and his outbursts and everything else. Maybe she means both, But like I said at the beginning of the pod, when I rewatched John's Not Mad, I kind of thought, at the beginning of it, I thought, well, I don't know if maybe they've had Shirley Henderson portray the mum particularly accurately, because she seems a bit more sensitive to John at the beginning of that. But by later on in the documentary, she uses words like carry on and stuff, and she's a bit... And look, it's not for... as a parent, we have our trials and tribulations with kids as they grow up, especially when they're teenagers. And that's just, and my kids are, they don't have Tourette's. So like it's all very well to say, well, maybe she could be a bit more sympathetic. But then you got to think, well, at the time, not as much was known about the condition. And it's all very well someone saying that who doesn't live with somebody with Tourette's all day, every day, because I imagine like supporting anybody with something like that, whether it's a physical thing or something like Tourette's, it must be exhausting. I mean, there's only the 2 of you. There's no one else to sort of share the load of it. I don't think it's fair to say, well, she might be a bit more sympathetic, you know what I mean? Because, she might have felt kind of ground down, and we know that John's dad couldn't cope with it because he leaves her, he leaves the family because by all accounts he can't cope with John.
And that's it, John must do, because when he tells her that he's moving out, she doesn't want him to go, and it's not a sense of, she says, I need you here. Like, it's just the 2 of them. I need you here. You're all I've got. And it's not for stuff around the house. She does need him. It's the company. It's her son.
Companionship. Yeah.
But he's like, no, I need to go. But she just goes about it the wrong way in terms of, because maybe that's the only way she can deal with him. Like, instead of her saying, John, like, come on, I need you here. Like, I need you. Like, we can get through this together. No, it's a case of you're needed here. And not the right way to go about it. But I would agree with you.
It's that generational thing for that generation. Though, I mean, my parents, like yours, like your mum came from that generation. And, I didn't know your mum that well, but I know that, for my parents, I don't know if it's seen as a sort of sign of weakness to say what to be open and to say what you mean and to kind of be vulnerable, especially in front of a child, even if that child is an adult to all intents and purposes, like 25, 35, 45. You know, they're a bit of a strange. I think there's a big difference between that generation and my generation, the Generation X that came next. And I guess we're shaped by the times we grow up in and what we're exposed to and everything else. But I don't know. But I mean, my kids might think that I'm a fucking weirdo as well. They probably do.
That's it. The generation, the generation you're talking about, you know, your mum and my mum, and you could say, yeah, John's mum, because they were probably all similar age in terms of that.
Sort of born in the 50s. Yeah,
you didn't talk about your troubles or your
post-war.
worries.
Yeah,
it was because you just kept everything indoors if you were speaking, because it was people gossiping. You didn't want other people knowing your business. That was the whole point. So you didn't. So she would have played down John, hidden him away, just kind of get on with it. Don't want to cause a fuss. Don't want anyone. I think I still suffer from the fallout of that in terms of my mental health of weight. And
screw it down. So you screw it right down until you have a heart attack.
Nowadays, you know, people have a shite and they have to share it online with, you know, what they're doing. Everyone knows everyone's business nowadays. It's all completely changed. Like, I can tell exactly what our mutual friend's been up to before he even texts us. Just have to go on his Facebook and find out exactly what he's doing, where he's doing, when he's done it, and who he's done it with.
But sometimes he shares the same post on Facebook as he shares in our closed WhatsApp group, like verbatim, same picture, you know? I don't know, I wonder, like, with our parents' generation, I sometimes think it's because their parents all came through the war, you know, so our parents been born in the sort of late 40s, early 50s. So, like, you know, like, for, like, for someone like our parents' age, as teenagers, like, oh, you know, I'm in a really rough time at the minute. Oh, really? Is it rougher than a bomb falling on your street? Is it rougher than rations? Is it rougher than not knowing if your father was going to come back from the war? You know what I mean? You don't know you don't know what problems are, son. You know what I mean? I wonder if there's a bit of that about it, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess I never thought about that. When you actually put things into context, like I was probably complaining about not having the right shampoo or something, and my mum being like, you know, I was one of 12 and we had to take it in turns using the tin bath on a Sunday night.
Yeah, and the carbolic soap. Try rubbing carbolic soap on your scalp and then tell me you've got the wrong shampoo.
And it was done in age order, which means I was 11th. So... yeah.
The water was pretty cloudy by the time I stepped in there.
I'll get the right shampoo next time for you, Nicky, no problem. Like, yeah, okay, puts things slightly into comparison, but could have maybe done slightly more to help. Maxine's Peake accent aside, I think the only other flaw I have, or nitpick I have with this film, and it's not a nitpick, but it's just kind of a little bit like, when John decides that he's going to help people and educate, there's only 16 minutes left of this film. Now, I'm not advocating for a longer film. Of course not. It's bang on 2 hours. That's enough, right? It's over 100 minutes. That's you know, but I'll take 2 hours.
It's in the fun zone.
Because it flies by. But I can't identify anything I would have cut out of the film. So maybe it's fine, but it just felt like 60 minutes a bit short. Now, just before that, you have the scene. I'm taking it from the point of the Tourette's day that he has. That's the kind of 60-minute mark. So before that, I guess you could say maybe 20 minutes, because you do have the scene before that of him and the girl with Tourette's, Lucy, in the car. Yeah. Fucking brilliant scene when they just have this Tourette's off. Do you know that girl? Because there's clips of her on Instagram. She does a proper Tourette's. She has Tourette's in real life, and she is a really fucking minefield to this episode. She has Tourette's in real life, and there was a famous Instagram clip. It's her and her driving instructor. It's teaching her to drive.
I've seen the one where they go through like a McDonald's drive-through.
Okay,
I've seen that one, but I didn't know there was a whole series of them. But I've seen that.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I'm sure he was taking those videos for his safety, but then obviously it's gone, found its way online. But the scene with the two of them in the car is beautiful because they just have this wonderful Tourette's off. She uses the fucking wonderful my dad shagged your dad, and fucking brilliant line. And they just have this wonderful like shared understanding just when they're finished, and he turns to her and he's like, "You feel better?" She's like, "Yeah." It's always like, I needed that. But he understands her, which is wonderful because he never had that And it's a beautiful part of the film and a beautiful scene.
I'm not talking to you.
No worries. Be honest, it's nice to have a few minutes off work.
Part-time slag.
I spunked on a jellyfish.
You're a wanker.
Today. Roddy's got a little cock.
Fuck off.
I've got a big fucking rabbit in my arse. Fuck you. Cunt.
Your dad wasted sperm.
Your dad's a cunt.
My dad's a paedophile.
I'm a pedo, you know.
I'm the leader of the
I
pedos.
raped a girl, you know.
You're on the fender.
I'm a fucker, you know.
My dad shagged your
My
dad.
dad's a fucking jellyfish.
So go on.
Maybe no. Mama's a priest.
You're a priest, you cunt.
You're a wank stain.
For sure. Like, I think if the sort of payoff of the film is life getting better for John, right? So the beginning of life getting better for John is, first of all, meeting Lucy and then putting together kind of groups or surgeries, whatever you want to call it, for people with Tourette's, but also their parents and their guardians and people that look after them, and how successful that is. And then he goes to Nottingham to try the new technology that suppresses his tit, and he meets the girl on the train. And I think sometimes if the payoff is too long, it's not as rewarding, because most of the film is showing the challenges that John faces.
Yeah,
with his day to day, some extreme examples like when he gets beaten up for accidentally calling the girl a slut outside the shop, getting into trouble in the nightclub, getting into trouble with the bag of sugar up his jumper, and all that kind of thing. It's quite a tough film in that sense, and that it doesn't sort of spare John, and then so it sort of makes that payoff at the end for the audience, I think, all the more rewarding. And I think had the kind of better life for John been shown for longer, it might have not been as rewarding, because he inherits Tommy's nice little house. So he's finally got his own place, his own independence. It's a nice house. I'm pretty sure that it's in Lennoxtown, that house, because I think that's the Campsie Hills right behind it. And I know they filmed, or it might be Scythe. I know that they didn't film a lot of the film in Galashiels, even though that's where it's set. So I sort of get it. The end is maybe a wee bit abrupt. Maybe could have done one another. Been interesting to know how John got on with the girl on the train. If that turned into a relationship or not. Maybe a wee bit more of him working with the families of other people who struggle with Tourette's. But I was kind of broadly fine with it, I think.
I agree. I didn't think that the first time I watched it. I thought, oh, that was lovely. That was that was a quick 2 hours. And I'm really pleased with the way that's happened. I think it was just watching it a second time through a slightly critical eye for the podcast that, of course, when it comes to that point, I'm like, how long's left of this film? Because that was because I guess that's a true test. The first time I watched this, not at any point did I look at my phone, did I look at the time, nothing. And I only looked at it on the second watch because I was just out of interest. Like, how long's left? Oh, fuck. Yeah. Oh, there's only like 16 minutes left. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe, probably is perfectly done, because you're right. You don't want to see too much good stuff happening. And I guess you're right. Maybe we'll find out who he got on with the girl on the train. Maybe we'll find out more, because surely there's going to be a I Swear 2 Revenge of the Sinners based on the BAFTA fallout, which we'll come back to after we've spoken about the film. The scene, probably one of the most powerful scenes in the film, is towards the end. And as you said, when John goes to Nottingham and he's speaking about this study and he gets this bracelet, and the scene when he's walking around in the library and just looking at the books, and you've had a previous hour and 50 minutes has been kind of full of noises and ticks, and straight from the entry of, the New Order at the beginning. And it's just been full of loud kind of noises and things. And here you have this just silent, beautiful bit, and there's no ticks, no stress. It's just you and John, and you feel this silence and moment of calm with him, and you're there with him, and it's a relief. It's just so beautifully shot and beautifully done that the audience is just all there with John, and you feel it so well. Yeah, you sort of get to share John's stillness, if you like, to your point, which again, because a really sort of powerful kind of filmmaking technique, because you don't really realise until the kind of final analysis, like you've said, they call the noise all through the film,
film, Robert Aramayo's performance, John's shouting his tics and everything. Like you don't. I mean, I didn't really appreciate that the first time I watched the film. It wasn't until I watched it another couple of times. It is you're kind of given permission to sort of enjoy those moments with John. And the thing is, like, I was thinking about Robert Aramayo's performance, particularly the physical side of it, and I was thinking he must have been worn out at the end of each day of shooting. And then I wonder how, when you put the part down, I mean, like, I don't know, like, I've never done any acting really. But yeah, the odd bits at school and whatnot, but very small bits and things. But, to commit to a performance like this, we're with John the whole way through the film. And most of the time he's played by Robert Aramayo. Like, when you're finished with the part, because you're playing somebody who struggles with these compulsions, whether it's verbal outbursts or the neck or, or bending over suddenly or throwing out your arm and stuff like that. I mean, it must take a tremendous amount of discipline to just leave it at work. Do you not think? I mean, just be able to go, right, like, I finished with that part now, on to the next thing. I mean, I guess that's why he was so recognised for it.
I can see, obviously, the extreme things like kissing lampposts or
that'd be easy enough to stop doing at the people's
faces. But the little neck twitches or tics like that, if you're doing them for 3-4 months of filming and probably a couple of months of prep, then it's a difficult kind of habit to pick up and then drop again. So I think it would probably be quite difficult. That's why you have, some actors, the perfect example, I know we mention it a lot, Johnny Lee Miller, I guess, in Trainspotting, spoke with his Scottish accent on set the whole time because if you come out of it, you're fucked, probably. So that's the way he did it. The famously, Kelly MacDonald didn't even realise till the rap party that he was English. So I think, I wonder how much discipline if Robert was going home and spitting in his girlfriend's face. Oh, well, maybe, you know what I mean.
I guess there's a sort of rhythm to it that is maybe, I don't know how easy it is to begin and to end, because you have to I'd imagine that to portray somebody that struggles with Tourette's, you have to be kind of, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess that kind of rhythm, like sort of movement, a sort of constant movement almost with subtle. I think that's why I thought Scott Ellis Watson was so effective at the beginning because, his job is just to start showing the subtle, because even at the very, very beginning of the film, before, the Tourette's starts to manifest, when you go back and watch it, like, a good example is when they're in the changing rooms when he's trying on the school uniform and he can't sort of stand still.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that's maybe the beginnings for us as the audience. We're starting to see the beginning of this, and then it's kind of manifests into more typical Tourette symptom. And I think as such a young actor and playing that, playing those subtle tics at first and the kind of head movements and things, and then it becomes more and more pronounced before the film jumps forward. I mean, they're both absolutely towering acting performances from both of those guys, as a young John and the adult John.
Yeah, but wonderfully done, and it's so beautifully the way it's crafted. It just subtly builds up, and you're there with John on the whole journey. And the film's full of amazing performances. It really is.
Yeah,
and it's just a great film and with a wonderful message. And it's not an earnest kind of film. It's honest, and it's by being honest, it's funny as well. And that's the thing. It's not sugarcoating stuff. Like, they're showing the bleakness of it, but they're finding humor and they're allowing us in to enjoy kind of part of that humor. It's the humor. It's Scottish as well. We do find dark things funny. I know, like, watching the documentaries again, it's tough, but you kind of have to laugh at certain points. There's one part, I think it's in the third documentary, I just laugh every single time I see it, and even when I think about it. And it's John's mate Chopper, who's also got Tourette's, and he's come up for a weekend and they're spending time together, and then Chopper's speaking to the camera and he's delivering this beautiful heartfelt speech about how he wishes John could find a partner and find love and someone who understands him, and that he could just settle down. And that's it. Chopper stops and then he ticks, and the camera picks it up, and it's just so funny because he delivers this beautiful heartfelt speech about, I just wish John could find someone who understands him. And then he goes, another gay man. And it's just the funniest fucking thing because it's just like two mates, like me, you, and our mutual friend. It's the kind of banter you would have, but it just seems so inappropriate to say it in that situation that, we wouldn't. But if the three of us were sitting in the pub, it's the type of thing we'd be saying. It just allowed it to, let us in with laughter. I just find it so funny, but obviously such a shame. And I think this film does a great job of allowing us in to laugh and show us the funny side, but also get across the serious nature of the actual condition.
So the film itself it's picked up a bit of unfair controversy because, as mentioned earlier on, rightly being recognised. Well, I think when the Oscars were announced, I don't think it had found an American distributor at that point, but it certainly was nominated for quite a few awards in the BAFTAs, with Robert Aramayo picking up a Best Actor award. And the big film last year was Sinners, Michael B. Jordan, although I think I referred to him as Michael B. Johnson earlier on. Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, sort of veteran African-American actor, were presenting an award at the BAFTAs. And I think John was obviously there for the awards. Big night for him, his film being recognised and celebrated, and I think BAFTA really let everybody down by not perhaps explaining to everybody beforehand, making it clear that there would be somebody in attendance, the reason why he was there, and that he couldn't always control what he said. So, he unfortunately shouted out the N-word when Jordan and Lindo were on the stage presenting an award, and they were rightly wounded by it because clearly they didn't know John's story and everything else. And the BBC also didn't have the delay on there either. So, there was a lot of fairly ignorant criticism the next day. Like Jamie Foxx was pretty unsympathetic, and even when it was explained to him, he still was pretty unsympathetic as well, which was a bit disappointing. But I mean, the person I felt sorry for the most was John himself, because he's had a harder life than most people, and his story is worthy of a fantastic movie because it's a really inspiring story of overcoming this horrendous sort of disability, really, in Tourette's, and this sort of silly media circuit. He had to leave the awards, which is really sad. He had to watch the rest of it from a TV somewhere on his own, which was a real shame. And I sort of tainted it a little bit for him. I felt really bad for him, just because obviously the horrible red top press just made a big circus out of it, didn't they?
I think it was a horrible situation, and you're right. Like it's John I feel sorry for, and the BBC have apologised to John for what happened, and rightly so. He was sat next to a microphone, and he should never have been sat next to a microphone. He said to them, I don't want to sit next to that microphone. They said it's fine, and they failed. They cut out quite a few things. I think at one point he called Alan Cumming a pedo, and he shouted a few things, but they were all cut out apart from the unfortunate outburst that was left in. And you're right. I think it's such a shame, but it's the way the emotions I went through, and I could see when I was telling my girlfriend, she went through kind of similar. And I think probably people do. I read the headline. My first thought is, oh God. Then I burst out laughing, just at the ridiculousness of the situation. Yeah. And then my thought is, oh fuck, poor John. He's going to be feeling terrible right now because he didn't mean to do that, and it's headline news. And then over the course of the day, it just gathered more and more. What I liked seeing at that time, especially on Reddit and online, was everyone Scottish was sticking up for our own. And everyone was like, no, it's John. He doesn't mean it. It's watch the film, educate yourself. And that's, in a way, it's genius marketing for the film, because the whole point is if you watch the film, you'll understand what happened. Yeah. It will explain things. Ignore the scene in the film when he does blackface. But the rest of the film is all fine.
He doesn't do blackface. He gets black paint on his face when him and Murray are messing about. It's not the same thing.
It's a bit like Ted Danson when he black-faced up for Whoopi Goldberg.
Is it?
No, it's not, obviously. But I think if people just watch this film and educate themselves, then they would understand. And I don't know if that's coming from our perspective. Maybe it's because we'd watched the film, but even so, we knew about John. We know John. Because we're Scottish. Is that, I think as we mentioned earlier, is it just we knew about Tourette's or we know about Tourette's through Peake from Big Brother 2 or 7? I just don't, I
don't know. I mean, I didn't know as much about Tourette's before I watched I Swear. I didn't. Like, I knew a bit about it. I'd never known anybody in my life with Tourette's. I've never encountered anybody with it, obviously apart from Pete off Big Brother 7, but even then, but I think compared to what John has to manage, Pete was comparatively milder, I think, in what he seemed to have to deal with. But
he didn't sway as much.
I always thought, and maybe I'm being naive here, but when it comes to awards ceremonies, I thought like everybody who would be presenting an award, nominated for an award, etc. I thought that it would be a bit of a requirement that all the films that were being nominated, everybody would be sent them to watch them beforehand. You know what I mean? Because obviously, so say you're in Sinners and I'm in, I don't know, I Swear, and we meet each other at the awards. It's going to be a bit awkward if I come up to you and say, "Oh, Nicky, I saw you in Sinners, I thought you're really good." And you're like, "Oh, what are you here for? Is this your film?" You know what I mean? It's just a bit kind of, maybe I'm being naive, but I thought that everybody would watch everyone's films. So, and obviously Michael B. Jordan would know that I Swear was about this character, this real life character who would be in attendance at the awards,
No, I think he was on the campaign trail by that point, so obviously didn't get maybe it won the Academy Awards, you never know. Maybe it was because of that he won it. So
yeah, I felt sorry for him.
Yeah.
He was racially abused in the BAFTAs. I'd accidentally racially abused. No, look, I think, that unpleasantness aside, I was really pleased to see the film being recognised, even if I know it didn't win, but it was nominated. I think Robert Aramayo was an incredibly deserving winner of his awards, and I'm really excited to see what he does, what we see him in next, it's the only thing that I've seen him in, and it's something you'll never watch, is the Rings of Power on Amazon, the Lord of the Rings TV show. And the thing is, he's playing an elf in the Rings of Power. But when I watched I Swear, it wasn't until I was having a look at the Wikipedia after the film that I realised it was him. And because I thought that he was Scottish. I thought his accent was so good.
Yeah.
And he's obviously an incredibly versatile actor. I know he went to, when I was looking him up, I know he went to Juilliard in New York City, which is obviously, as everyone knows, well, most people know, is a very prestigious school of theatre and acting. So I'm excited to see what he does next. I'm excited to see what Scott Ellis Watson pops up in next as well, because as I said before, I thought he was brilliant. And have anything else for I Swear?
No, I did find it amusing. You're right, you say that about the school he went to, because he famously in the BAFTA speech, he said, like Ethan Hawke, who was also nominated with him in that category, he said, when I was a kid, you came to my school and gave a speech.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And, this, and you're like, oh, that's beautiful. And then you read it and you're like, right. So Ethan Hawke went to Juilliard in New York to just deliver a class. It's not like he went to a primary school in Springburn or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a story. But no, it went to a college where he lives.
Prestigious school of acting.
Yeah. Probably popped in one day. It was like, oh yeah, I just gave a quick word. Anyway, it's still a lovely story. But
he probably just popped in to get out the rain or something,
Yeah, use the toilet. It's a wonderful film. Such an important message. I absolutely loved it. And just a fantastic film. Really wonderful.
Yeah, really good. If you want to watch I Swear, it's on Netflix in the UK. I don't know if other territories, as they say. I'm sure that some will be carrying it. There's some won't. I think you can probably rent it off Apple or Amazon at this stage as well.
Yeah, so, I'm sure.
If you haven't seen it, get it watched. Brilliant film. But of course, the most important part of the pod is we need to put I Swear through our Culture Swally awards. I think the Johnny Lee Miller award can be an occasional one, because obviously not everything that we review has someone try to do a Scottish accent in it. But I think if we're given one for this film, it definitely goes to Robert Aramayo.
Definitely.
So the first award, or the second award, I should say, after that is the Bobby the Barman Award for the best pub in I Swear.
I mean, there's only the nightclub they go into. That was it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Looks pish.
Doesn't look very good. I think they're also overestimating the ethnic diversity of Gala Shields in the early 90s as well. I'm sure that might not have found it quite as diverse as it's portrayed in the movie.
I did see something about, I think it's in the IMDb goofs for this film. Someone points out
too many black people in this film.
Yes.
Really?
In Gala Shields, yeah. Someone points out that I think it was, now, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was something like, in 1983, when we see John, like when he's playing football, there's a black kid on one of the teams, there's an Asian kid as well.
Yeah.
And it said like the non-white population of Gala Shields, around about that time was like 3% or something.
Yeah.
There's no way they would have been at that school. And even later, I mean, the nightclub, there's a lot of non-white people. Comparatively, when he goes to Nottingham, the only non-white person he sees in Nottingham is the doctor that gives him the test. Everyone else is white. And Nottingham is obviously a city which is very multicultural.
Yeah, exactly.
Ethnic.
Yeah.
So, I did see a complaint about that on IMDb.
Seems an odd thing to complain about. But takes all sorts. Next award then is the James Cosmo Award for being in everything Scottish. I think that we've got a few choices here. Ron Donaghy, I think, is probably the new Cosmo. Cosmo will be slowing down a wee bit because he gets a bit older.
I went with Donaghy. Just seems to the longevity that he's just been in pretty much everything. So, I mean, Mullan and Henderson, both great shouts, I think, but Donaghy just seems to be Scottish,
Yeah.
Like, I think if you were to stop people in the street and ask them, and like Shirley Henderson, they're probably going to say Moaning Myrtle is the majority of people. To us, she'll always be Cunty Bunty, but to a lot of people, she'll be Moaning Myrtle. I think Donaghy, he's always Scottish.
Yeah, I think the measure of the new Cosmo, it has to be somebody that nobody can name, but everybody recognises. Because Cosmo was a bit like that for a while. Oh, he's always in something Scottish, that guy. He's always, I remember seeing him in Braveheart and thinking, well, they had to put this guy in because he's in everything.
Yeah.
That's Scottish. But over the years, I've come to appreciate his artistry, his cosmic acting.
The thing is, it's difficult for us now to pick that because we know who they are. So, Matt Costello is the perfect example of that.
Yeah, for
anything we watch, it's like, oh, it's him. It's Stevie the Bookie. Most people aren't going to know Matt Costello.
No.
So, I think it's the same. I could guarantee all the people across of Scotland, in the UK we're watching this film and went, oh, it's Naveed, it's Sanjeev Kohli. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Although he is beginning to sort of carve himself out as as a Cosmo for the 21st century.
Yeah.
Next then is a Jake McQuillan Your Tease Out Award. I had John accidentally punching Dottie in the supermarket because it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I did. That is good in terms of, I mean, it's not good, but it's funny, but also shows it's because they laugh about it afterwards as well. Like the immediate reaction is like, oh fuck, and then when they both laugh, you're like, okay, this gives us permission to laugh. So it's okay. I would go with that. I think it's probably the best. I don't want to think about John getting a doing at the canal.
No.
Or getting the belt. No.
Yeah, for sure. Next then, the France, in some respects, the hardest one to pick something for, the Francis Begbie Award for gratuitous swearing. I mean, I had two. The first one for me, because it happens early in the film, and I just, it sort of sets you up for the rest of the movie, is when he walks into the assembly room to meet the Queen after getting over his anxiety and almost immediately shouts, "Fuck the Queen." And then the next one was when when the headmasters put him on the spot to say, if you don't admit to the fact that you're doing this for attention. You're going to have to leave the school. And John can't say that because he knows that it's not true. He's out there for attention. And he tells him to leave the office. And as he's leaving the office, he goes, "Ya cunt!" Because the headmaster's not a very sympathetic character. So when John calls him a cunt, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, it's quite gratifying for the audience.
Yeah.
Although he does get the belt for his troubles.
He does indeed, yeah. Gets the belt for calling a cunt. Yeah, both great. I also have two. And one I've mentioned already. It's when Tommy turns up to court and Dottie says, "It's not going well, Tommy. He called the judge a cunt." But I think my favourite is just after, I think Mullan, Tommy and John are just been decorating the Christmas tree, and Tommy's telling him that he should, educate people about Tourette's, and he has a bit of a swear and he says, "You cunt you." And I just love the use of that. "You cunt you." Just lovely, nice little swearing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've gone with that.
Okay, so then the next award then is our archetypal Scottish moments award. What'd you go for here?
I don't know if it's particularly a Scottish thing, but it seemed like it to me. Maybe it's a UK-wide thing, but felt Scottish, getting a Chinese to celebrate something.
Yeah.
John's, got the job. Dottie doesn't have cancer. Let's get a Chinese banquet. What about you?
Well, for me, it was just some of the kind of turns of phrase, particularly when Tommy says homos instead of boz. It's a lot of time for that. And that is, nobody refers to their testicles as their homos anywhere else in the world apart from in Scotland. For me, it was just some of those little kind of nuances of language, not swearing per se, although there's some very good Scottish swearing in there to say, but just more of those little sort of turns of phrase and what.
Yeah, nice.
And then our final award then is the Big Tam Award. So who wins I Swear for You?
I think we both know, and it's quite obvious. Yeah, Robert Aramayo. I mean, what a performance. And, I take nothing away, obviously, is we've spoken about Scott Ellis-Watson as well, fantastic performance, but it's Aramayo's film. I mean, he's front and centre, he's on the poster, he's in every scene that, once it gets to that stage, he's won the BAFTA. It's his film, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, you can put that award on his mantelpiece next to his BAFTA.
Yeah.
So like I said before, I Swear. If you're in the UK, it's on Netflix already. If you're outside the UK, you might have to either obtain it by legal means, Amazon, Apple, or illegal means. And I don't know about any of them, but I'm sure there's plenty of people listen to the pod that do. But it was my choice to do I Swear, which means that it comes back to you to choose for the next time. So what are we watching?
Thanks so much, Greg. Well, I had my choice already picked. I knew what I was going to pick. And then I just happened to go on STV Player the other day and I saw this. And I checked YouTube and it's available there too. So this is something I've shamefully never seen and I want to rectify. So if it's bad, I can't be blamed. I don't know if you've seen it actually. So on the next episode, we're going to be discussing Alex Ferns, aka Trevor from EastEnders. We're also going to be discussing the patron saint of the Swally, Sir James Cosmo, as we look at the 2003 film Man Dancing.
Is 2003, is that post Trevor or pre? I think it's post Trevor, right? I think Trevor's been blown up. Yeah.
I remember I was on holiday in Dubai for Christmas. That must have been Christmas 2001 when Little Mo hit Trevor with the iron.
Right.
That was the big Christmas storyline. I remember watching that just off in Alhambra Villas, just off Alwastle Road. Watching that. Yeah, happy times. Nice. So yeah, post Trevor, Alex Ferns. So on the next episode, it's available on YouTube. 2003 film Man Dancing.
I'll look forward to that. I've not seen it. I'm aware of it. I seem to remember, because what's Trevor's real name? It's not Trevor. What's his actor's name again?
Alex Ferns.
Alex Ferns. He was poised for, he was sort of poised for a bit of stardom after EastEnders. Now, he does pop up and stuff. Like I saw him in, I tell you what he was in recently. That Star Wars spin-off that our mutual friend thinks is absolutely brilliant and gets really annoyed when I say it's all right. It's got one of the characters out of Rogue One in it. It's like a Rogue One prequel series.
Mate, who the fuck are you talking to? I don't fucking know. What are the Star Wars ones? Is Ashoka, or is that's a hairdresser in Aberdeen?
Yeah.
Andor?
Andor, that's the one.
That the one. Okay.
He's in Andor, and he was also in Chernobyl a few years ago as well, wasn't he? Yeah.
That's the big thing. Yeah, he was in Chernobyl, of course, and then in Andor. Wow. Oh well. We'll be discussing.
Still grafting. Yeah.
We'll be discussing Alex Ferns a lot in the next episode.
Alex Ferns' storied career.
Yes, and if he could be the new James Cosmo. Right. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can. You can email us, cultureswally@gmail.com, with anything you've seen in the news or anything you'd like us to cover, or if you just want to say hello, then you can. And we have a wonderful website as well, don't we, Greg?
You can get us at cultureswally.com. Links to all their episodes and some articles about TV and Scottish television and movies.
Wonderful. All right, buddy. Well, thank you very much. Are you up to anything exciting?
No, it's a school night, so I'm still in the clothes that I wore to work today because I came home. I had to lead an online meeting with some people in America, which makes my job sound a lot more exotic than it actually is. And then I came straight on to do the pod. So with just a very quick 5 minutes to eat some quite delicious tacos that my wife made for dinner. So I'm going to go and get some cozy clothes on and maybe do a wee hour of TV before I call it a night.
Wonderful. Right. Well, you enjoy, and I will see you next time.
Until next time.
Oh, fuck! Oh, fuck off, you cunt! Sorry, everyone.
Right, John. If you're going to visit us more often, which, I hope you are, I need to speak to you about your language.
Aye. Okay.
We have one rule in this house. And that's if you do anything you can't help, you never, ever have to apologise for it. If you're out in the street and, with people who don't understand you, then fine, apologise, whatever. But in this house, well, we know you can't help it.